my strategy was to do books first and then turn the books into movies. Because once you look at the books I've done, there are imperfections in everything that I've done. But it's my hope that give me an opportunity to do it, you know, and I believe that I could produce something great. Gordon Parks went from doing books, you know, to doing film. You know, he did the Learning Tree. So I want to have that same opportunity. So hopefully someone will look at my book and say, let's do this. You know, let's make a movie called A Time Before Crack, a series. And I look at what's on Showtime, HBO, Netflix right now. There's a void. They talking about, folks is talking about doing a remix of Scarface and Paid in Full. I mean, really, do we need that right now? Do we need movies that are going to continue to add in our destruction, and movies that present negative images of us as a people? I feel that I have a responsibility to use my voice and platform to produce content that's going to inspire people, you know what I mean, and show the world another side. So A Time Before Crack is that. Mind you, the book is called A Time Before Crack, because I want people to know how life was before the crack epidemic hit, because once crack hit, life as we knew it was forever changed. So a lot of these photographs are dealing with that time period. I mean, this is a photograph that I took in Harlem around 88. Now crack had hit at this point, but we still had unity. A time before COVID, when people came together in the spirit of love and unity. And this is common in Harlem back in the days. One of the things I was exploring in the late 80s is spending a lot of time in Harlem. I loved it for its rich culture. You know, I was greatly inspired by the Harlem Renaissance in the early 1900s. So I loved the frequency in Harlem. It wasn't like Brooklyn. It was more of a conscious vibration in Harlem back in the days. And I loved the merchants of the street. So this photograph I opened the book up with because I wanted to show the love and togetherness. And I personally don't remember any conflict around this time. You know, anybody getting stabbed, anybody getting shot. Just yesterday I heard in broad daylight around 3 o'clock they had a shooting on 125th Street. You know, so it's just something where we're going. So I took the challenge to do a book called A Time Before Crack because I wanted to redress the crack epidemic and how life was. I could have easily did a book. The original idea when I came up with it back in the early 2000s was to do another book about the 80s called Strictly Old School. And it's a great title, but I wanted it to be more than old school. I wanted people to think and go back to that time period, and it's pretty much doing that. The book has its imperfections, but I'll look past that. This is a good brother, Trev, who lived in the neighborhood that was an official brother. You know, he was in the Marines, and he lost his life. He died in a horrific car accident where he burned to death. You know, so my reason for putting this photograph in this book is to remember him. And this is my old neighborhood. This is Church Avenue right here, Church and Ralph. And Trev lived a few blocks away. You know, so that was the idea of the book, to remember people. How can I produce a book that's going to stimulate you and remind you? And this is the vibration in America at that time. You know, this is my man Malik. He had just came home from the Marines. And you have this sign in 1982 talking about Reaganism is black genocide. Think about that. Reaganism is black genocide. This is before the crack epidemic hit. And then you have this poster showing South Africa, the Soweto massacre, where a number of South Africans were murdered by the racist South African government. So this is an important photograph here to open up the book, because this is definitely a time before crack. Because crack hit pretty much in 83, 84, and here's 82, and you're saying Reaganism is black genocide. This is my man Supreme right here, and he's reading the book, The Destruction of Black Civilization. And that's my book.
That's a legendary picture right there.
Yes, it is. And Supreme was one of my students, and I encouraged my students to read. And I felt that to really understand the history and culture, this was a good book to read, you know, to add on to your cipher by Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization.
Where's Supreme right now?
I'm not exactly sure where he's at. You know, he's out there. He reached out to me a while ago, but I really can't say where that brother's at this point. This is a brother that passed away a few years after this photograph was taken. I believe he died in a horrific motorcycle accident. So again, it was my way of honoring people who are no longer here first. Deep photograph right here. This is in my old project with Red Hook. This is a young sister that I snatched up when I first came home and we were building with. You know, good sister. and she was one of the very first casualties of crack. Very first ones. And it bothered me because it was a race against time with me and the drug dealers out there. I'm coming back to America trying to save our people. I went back out to Red Hook, my old community. I'm trying to save people, and then you got the pimps, the drug dealers, and everybody in between snatching up the women. And she's a beautiful sister, as you see. I'll show you a picture of her later on. You'd be surprised what she looks like right now. And this is a brother I grew up with, Preston. And Preston was doing his thing out there with a lot of women, and he died. You know, so I went back with a determined idea to raise our community. You know, brothers from the neighborhood. You know, when I came home,
Party.
yeah, this is a party, and you know, these brothers, you know, they dealt with a very interesting life. So page after page after page is stories. You know, I would travel on the trains looking for brothers to build with. These are just young brothers I saw on the train one day, and I would go car to car looking for young brothers to drop the knowledge to, and I came upon these brothers. So having a camera gave me access to a lot of people, and I built friendships with a lot of individuals.
If Mecca did this,